Indonesia signs reciprocal trade deal with the US, keeping 19% tariff on exports. Japan's Takaichi vows to end excessive fiscal austerity and boost long-term investment. And Kim Jong-un says North Korea overcame stagnation and achieved key economic goals. Good morning and welcome to the Economic News Bulletin. I'm Henny Saif, and we'll start off with the United States, where the number of Americans filing new applications for unemployment benefits fell more than expected last week, indicating a stabilizing labor market. The Labor Department reported that initial claims dropped 23,000 to a seasonally adjusted 206,000 for the week ended February 14th, below economists' forecasts of 225,000. Claims had risen to 232,000 at the end of January. Continuing claims, a measure of ongoing unemployment, increased 17,000 to 1.869 million, suggesting some laid-off workers still face difficulties finding jobs. President Donald Trump has delivered a speech at a steel distributor in Rome promoting his tariffs, tax cuts, and foreign investment policies as evidence that affordability is improving under his administration. He said core inflation over the last 3 months is 1.4%, the lowest in more than 7 years. He claimed his policies created 5,000 manufacturing jobs and 70,000 construction jobs in Georgia. Trump also noted 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil are headed to Houston, and Novartis is building 11 U.S. plants due to tariffs. U.S. oil production is up 600,000 barrels per day, and natural gas output is at an all-time high. The speech comes as Republicans prepare for the November midterms, with Trump's economic approval at 34%, while 57% disapprove.
Core inflation is now the lowest of any time in more than 7 years. The last 3 months, we've had the lowest inflation we have had in over a decade. The last 3 months, it's 1.4%. We had record inflation. You don't have it anymore. I'm going to make a State of the Union address on Tuesday. I hope you're going to watch. And we're going to be talking about it. But you don't hear the word affordability. You know, they just say the word. They look at the camera, say affordability. And I'd be watching, I'd say, oh, I can't believe it. Do people believe it? They would say affordability, everybody would say, oh, Trump's caused. No, they caused the affordability problem, and we've solved it. And we're going still lower, but we've solved it.
However, the Commerce Department has reported that the U.S. trade deficit widened sharply in December as imports surged, reaching $70.3 billion, well above the expected $55.5 billion. The annual goods deficit for 2025 hit a record of $1.24 trillion, despite Donald Trump's tariffs on foreign manufactured goods. Imports rose 3.6% in December to $357.6 billion, driven by industrial supplies, metals, crude oil, and capital goods like computer and telecom equipment. Consumer goods imports, including pharmaceuticals, fell. Exports declined 1.7% to $287.3 billion, with capital goods and semiconductors showing gains. On tariffs policy, Indonesia has announced signing a reciprocal trade agreement with the United States, maintaining a 19% US tariff on Indonesian exports. The agreement was signed in Washington by Senior Economic Minister Erlangga Hartarto and US Trade Representative Jameson Greer after months of negotiations. Erlangga called it a win-win that respects both countries' sovereignty. Indonesia said coffee, chocolate, natural rubber and spices will be tariff-free, with possible exemptions for nearly 1,700 other products, including palm oil. The deal takes effect 90 days after legal procedures are completed, and a Council of Trade and Investment will be formed. We're joined now from Ohio by the Professor of Information Systems and Business Analysis, Dr. Hassan Abdel Fattah. Dr. Abdel Fattah, welcome to the Qnews Economic Bulletin. How significant is Indonesia's trade deal with the US, considering the retained 19% tariff and the exemptions for key products for both economies?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I believe even with sustaining or keeping that tariff rate, it's a win-win for both countries. Remember, Indonesia is actually the strongest economy in the Southeast Asia. They have about 277 million people. Their GDP around $1.42 trillion. They have a long trade relationship with the United States. It has been, annual trading between the States and Indonesia. It's over 39 to 42 billion dollars annually. U.S. exports products worth of almost $12 billion annual. Imports from Indonesia, it's about $27 billion. So that 19% rate, I believe it's a huge win for Indonesia. So I believe that this is not only trading opportunity, but it's also considered to be a geopolitical shift where U.S. administration or Trump have been trying to secure the supply chain and trying to diversify options away from China. So I think this is a great move for the United States and for Indonesia.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the Indonesian companies signed the $7 billion in deals with the U.S. firms before the trade agreement that included purchases of soybeans, wheat, and critical minerals. Now it also added the rubber, the chocolate, the coffee, and probably palm oil as well. How is this likely to affect Indonesia's trade balance with the U.S.?
So I believe, and we can see historical data has shown that that trade has grown over 70% in the past decade. The direct foreign investment for the United States in Indonesia, it's about $29 billion. As you mentioned, the U.S. companies, seven U.S. companies has been cut the deal as soon as the trade deal was announced. That shows that the deal or the agreement has been in place for a long time. Now it's the execution. The announcement time is really critical before the State of the Union speech. And it is important for the U.S. administration right now to show that we're adding more jobs, we're increasing our import. More importantly is strengthen and securing supply chain away from China.
Mm-hmm. Well, these agreements would probably strengthen Indonesia's long-term relationship with the U.S., but how does it pave the way for broader trade back that would not just benefit India, but also have some sort of an effect on the Asian continent in general?
It will, and I believe this is really critical. Remember, so Indonesia, uh, as a country, with respect to supply chain, uh, about 40% of global shipping passes around Indonesia. For one, for the United States to heavily invest in Indonesia, that will make a balance with respect to supply chain diversification. So that will strengthen um, United States position, as there is one critical piece here, which is the mineral resources. Indonesia holds the biggest reservoir of nickel. They produce about 50% of nickel globally, and that is really huge for the United States. Nickel, as you know, goes into EV, it goes into multiple technology manufacturing that is needed. And this is really important with respect to supply chain, as China holds a high amount of mineral resources, and the United States has been trying to uh, stay away from China. So I think this is really critical for the long run to be able to have access to nickel, as the huge demand of EVs has been growing and it will continue grow. There is expectation and estimates illustrate that the need of nickel with
Yes.
respect to EVs will increase to 400%
Mm-hmm.
2040.
From Ohio, that was Dr. Hassan Abdel Fattah, the Professor of Information Systems and Business Analysis. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Now we head to the latest developments from the rest of the world. Britain's Office for National Statistics has reported that it will reduce about 10% of its publications in 2026 to address persistent quality issues with core data releases. The cuts will affect health surveys, nighttime economy reports, and quarterly greenhouse gas emissions data. ONS Permanent Secretary Darren Tierney said the reductions are essential to restoring the quality of the core statistics. The move follows concerns over low response rates in the labour force survey, which informs unemployment and labour market data used by the Bank of England. Governor Andrew Bailey has called the data quality deterioration a substantial problem. In Asia, the Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has pledged to break with excessive fiscal austerity and increase long-term investment through a multi-year budget framework while maintaining fiscal discipline. Speaking to the parliament, she said the government would boost spending in sectors like artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and shipbuilding to lift Japan's potential growth, support private investment, and reverse chronic underinvestment. To reassure the markets, Takaichi promised to set fiscal indicators, overall budget planning with multi-year frameworks, keep debt growth in line with economic expansion, and gradually reduce the debt-to-GDP ratio. She also said some subsidies would be cut to fund initiatives. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said his country had overcome stagnation and achieved major economic goals over the past 5 years as he opened the 9th Party Congress. In his opening speech, Kim called the past 5 years a proud period, citing accomplishments in politics, economy, defense, culture and diplomacy, along with progress in self-reliance. He said North Korea had brought a big change to relations with other countries in its external relations and the global geopolitical landscape. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has kept the minimum wage unchanged for 2.4 million workers after the Council of State suspended a decree granting a 23% increase for 2026. Petro had set the wage at 1.7 million pesos a month, plus a transport subsidy, bringing total pay to 2 million pesos. Speaking in Bogota's Plaza de Bolivar, while signing the decree, he said the government would not reverse the measure. Business groups challenged the hike, prompting the court to seek further justification. That brings us to the end of our economic news bulletin, but before we wrap up, here's a reminder of the main stories we've been covering. Indonesia signs a reciprocal trade deal with the US, keeping 19% tariff on exports. Japan's Takaichi vows to end excessive fiscal austerity and boost long-term investment. And Kim Jong-un says North Korea overcame stagnation and achieved key economic goals. These are all the economic and financial news we have for now. Thank you for joining us. Stay informed, stay ahead, and don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EGY. I'm Henny Safe. Thank you for joining us.